Mr. Jose Manuel Barroso, welcome here. Welcome you as the chairman of Gavi. This is the Brics Africa channel. We're happy to have you here.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much. Before we get into the issue of Gavi, let me start by saying that congratulations on the 12th anniversary of TEHA. What have been the successes of TEHA and what has been difficulties along the way of the 12 years?
Look, sometimes I've been participating in some events with the European House Ambrosetti. I'm not a member of the European House Ambrosetti, but sometimes they invite me. And I know they are extremely important in Europe. They are, I think, the #1 consulting firm in Italy and one of the biggest consulting firms in the world. They are very respected, and so I think it's great that they provide this kind of fora. Yeah. It's a forum to promote dialogue and partnerships between companies, but also the public authorities, the civil society. In this case, in South Africa, I believe that more than ever, by the way, we need a strong relationship between Europe and Africa, South Africa, but also Africa as a whole. For many years, I've been involved in African affairs, more than 30 years when I think about it. And I believe that the current situation needs, in fact, a stronger partnership between Africa and Europe.
What advice would you then give into the openings of the Africa Agreement for Free Trade?
I would advise, if I may, I don't like to give advice because it sounds paternalistic.
Yes.
Even my children and my grandchildren, they resist to my advice. But if you want my opinion,
exactly,
it makes sense to have a free trade area in Africa. Yes. Because it's scale that makes us strong. We have done that in Europe many years ago. It's not perfect, but we have an internal market in Europe. So between Portugal to Poland to the Baltic countries, between Sweden to Italy or to Greece, there are no barriers, there are no tariffs, yes, or there are no quotas. Goods circulate freely. That was good for the prosperity, yes, of the people in general. That was good for companies. They don't have to have the costs of changing country. And I think that's a very important stimulus for growth. Exactly. So I wish that the long-standing proposals and ideas about a pan-African market will become reality. I know that's difficult. I know the situation in many countries in Africa, but it makes sense for the reasons I just mentioned.
Let's talk about another point which may put you here. What is the relationship between Gavi and TEHA, and what is the role of fostering the friendship and cooperation that you've just mentioned now?
No, Gavi and TEHA have a good relationship, but we don't have an institutional relationship. TEHA is a platform. I will come here as chairman of Gavi to discuss some issues about public-private partnerships, because Gavi is an international organization based in Geneva, in Switzerland, that has now 25 years. That is very much based on the idea of public-private partnerships. We have the governments, yes, but we also have the companies that are manufacturing vaccines. Yes. And now we have launched an initiative for manufacturing vaccines in Africa. Yes. That's why I'm here. I'm speaking with the South African government. I already met 2 ministers. I'm going to meet 2 other ministers tomorrow. Because South Africa is in fact leading in Africa in terms of production of vaccines, yes, but much more can be done, yes, so that we have more vaccine sovereignty in Africa. And that's how I came here. And in fact, the organization, the TEHA, they asked if I wanted to share my experience and the experience of Gavi. It's a very successful experience, Gavi, with other companies and other institutions about the idea of making public-private partnerships work.
The acronym PPP has been mentioned several times today, private-public partnership. In terms of what you had specifically mentioned, healthcare and vaccines, what is the potential of Africa in cooperation with Europe to have its own vaccine?
There is already some production of vaccines in Africa, including in South Africa.
Yes.
But more can be done. And in fact, we created a facility of $1 billion that is already working, so that we can support the manufacturers that obtain pre-qualification, authorization by the WHO, the World Health Organization, to produce vaccines.
Yes.
So it's a way of giving additional support to the manufacturing capabilities in Africa.
Yes.
That's a good example, a concrete example, because those manufacturers are private companies, in fact, in South Africa and elsewhere. And we believe that there are countries in Africa that already have the capabilities to do it for the national market, but the national market is not enough. To have a vaccine is very expensive to produce. You need at least the African market, but also looking at the global market. There is no reason why we cannot have very important vaccines produced here for the global market. That's the basic concept of our public-private partnership. So money from the governments that are our donors, and some also philanthropies, like the Gates Foundation is one of the founding members of Gavi, but also supporting the companies, the manufacturers that are able to produce with quality and at scale vaccines for the developing countries, namely for the children of the most vulnerable countries in the world.
Yes. In your long experience with the production of vaccine or in that administration or in that field, what have been the stumbling blocks both in Europe and in Africa? What is this common error or a specific regulation that impedes advancement of that
Look,
field?
some of them are technical. So to produce a vaccine, it's very difficult because you have not only to have the formula, but you have to produce at scale. For instance, some vaccines that were developed for COVID, they were not accepted by the WHO because they found out that the quality was not the same in the different sites of production. That's a technical problem. Another problem is the distribution logistically, because vaccines have to be kept at a very cold temperature. So we need so-called freezing vaccines. We have a cold chain vaccine, and some logistical challenges exist. And by the way, afterwards there is the issue of money, of course, because some countries cannot afford vaccines. That's why Gavi exists. During COVID, we were able to distribute more than 2 billion vaccines through COVAX, a facility that was created by Gavi, but also with the UNICEF and World Health Organization. And now we are distributing vaccines in Africa. Most countries we are distributing vaccines are African, to the vulnerable countries, for the children of this continent. So because we are helping Africa to overcome those financial gaps that exist. So sometimes there are also there are some political obstacles. There are some discussions of people who are against vaccines. They become with some ideological ideas, ideological prejudices, in fact. So I would say that these are the difficulties: technical, logistically, political, and sometimes economically and financially. But at the end of the day, it has been a great success because we can show that vaccines work, and thanks to that, we have been able to save the lives of millions and millions of children. And as I always say, there is nothing, but nothing more important in life than the lives of children, saving the lives of children. That's why Gavi has been very successful in its 25 years of existence, and we believe that there will be even more opportunities to work in the future with Africa and with other partners around the world.
In conclusion, out of this CEO's dialogue, what would you wish is the resolution or is the final conclusion of this event?
No, I mean, from my point of view, now speaking as chair of Gavi, is to share our experience of a successful case of international public-private partnership. Now, as not only as Gavi chairman, but someone was for many years leading the European Union and also political experience in my country, Portugal, I think one of the goals of these meetings is to develop and increase a good cooperation between Africa and the rest of the world, in this case Europe, because we need it for obvious reasons. We need to keep the flag of multilateralism alive when we see such a polarized, fragmented world like the one we are living in today. A very volatile, polarized, and sometimes dangerous world. And we need to build these bridges among continents, among people of goodwill, among the public sector, the private sector, the different political forces. I think this is more necessary than ever.
Said. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.